For introduction purposes, my name is Fikile Matsinye from the Department of Gauteng, Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. Today we are in Kwa-Thema for community asset mapping. In the room, there are community development workers from all sub-regions of Ekurhuleni. We were lucky to have the program that coincides with the program of the IEC. So I will be giving a brief as to who we are and what we do. The Community Development Workers Program is a national program managed at the national level in the office of GPSA. At the provincial level, the office where we are hosted, we are in the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, COGTA. So every province has its own way of managing its CDW program. The community development workers assist with improving service delivery and accessibility of services to the public. They assist with intergovernmental coordination between line departments and 3 spheres of government. They facilitate community development and stronger interaction and partnership between government and communities, and they support participatory democracy. Why are we here today? We are in Kwa-Thema today to conduct an environmental scan in preparation for the application of the asset-based community development. What is asset-based? What is asset-based community development? Asset-based community development model is a model one can apply to facilitate citizen-led development. Community asset mapping is a process whereby community identifies existing assets within the area of focus. This is a continuous project. We started in Magagula last week. We did the same project. Today we are here, and maybe for people to get to understand what we seek to achieve, maybe I need to use a practical example based on what we did in Magagula. On Thursday, the 23rd of February, we were in Magagula, where we coordinated community workers from different departments to collaborate towards a household visit program that was intended to reach out to community members of Magagula. The purpose of the outreach program was to map out the existing ward-based stakeholders in preparation for the application of the asset-based community development model. 76 community workers arrived in Magagula. Amongst them were ward committee members, COGTA community development workers, community safety marshals, community health workers, local NGOs, community members from other sectors of the ward. You may have picked up when I said one of the roles of the CDWs is to assist with intergovernmental coordination between line departments and 3 spheres of government. So the collaboration of community workers is part of the role of CDW to make sure that when we go to conduct household visits, we do it in a joint manner, in a collaborative approach. It is sometimes exhausting that if we would find ourselves going to one household, today you find that the community development workers go, the following day community health workers go to the same household, the following day the community marshals go to the same household. We might be exhausting our communities. So the collaborative effort is assisting us to actually conduct our programs jointly. As you may see, there's a lot of questionnaires on the table here. The 76 community workers were given 5 questionnaires each to engage with community members during household visits. After a briefing like this one, the fieldwork began. And as you are aware that from here, we will be leaving from this boardroom out to the field to conduct community household visits. At the end of the day, 295 questionnaires were completed. The environmental scan questionnaire is structured to help us identify existing stakeholders in the ward and the number of community members interested to participate in the ward-based sectors. So in Magagula, out of the 295 respondents, 55 are interested to participate in economic development sector, 49 are interested to participate in the health sector, and this is it's a progress report from the capturing because the capturing still continues. In the health sector, we have 49 people who are interested, 70 are interested in the community sector, 33 in the infrastructure development, and there are those who would like to participate in more than one sector. And those sectors include elderly and people living with disability, women and children, and youth. Also, those have a quite number of community members interested to participate in. Why is this information important? Now that we know who is interested in what sector, we will be going back to Magagula, and also we'll be going back, after today, we'll be coming back here to Kwa-Thema, so that we engage with the community members per sector. When we get there, we would have communicated with the community members prior, so that they are aware that we'll be going there to meet with a specific sector. Let's say, for an example, on Monday we are focusing on economic development. So we will be in one room with the community development workers, as well as other community workers from the economic development. I'm trying to think what they're called. It's consumer champions. There will also be asset-based community development champions, the ABCD champions. That exercise will assist us to engage with communities so that the communities take charge of their own plan and development. So the ABCD champions will be facilitating a session where maybe I need to break down per sector so that we get to understand how to apply asset-based community development in different sectors. In the economic development sector, you would have the 55 people and more that are interested. The ABCD champion will be facilitating a session in a venue like this. Then, after the introduction, everyone in the room will walk out, do a transact walk. The transact walk is to help communities identify the assets that are available for them. They can walk from one point of the ward to the other, having notes, taking points down as to what they see. For an example, if when you walk out, what you see is an illegal dumping hotspot. You pause there with your team and you ask them to look at what is it that they can take out of the waste so that they can use it and reuse or recycle for the benefit of achieving their own development. If, for an example, they notice there's physical structures, buildings, cars that are deserted, a bus that is stationary, a container that used to be used for public phone is no longer being used, you note everything down. On their return, the ABCD champion will request the community members to name everything that they would have written down, and that will talk to the assets that they would have picked up in the ward. After all the human, physical infrastructure and other assets have been recorded, the community agrees that that will inform the community asset mapping. That will also be used in conjunction with the list of stakeholders that are there in the ward. We know that in the ward, there's ward committees, there's a ward committee sector that is specific to economic development, to health, there's like 10 of them. Then you'd identify human resources that you have in the ward. For an example, if you have business forums, you have people who are interested to start businesses. You get everyone, you identify your shopping malls as to how you can make use of the available assets to actually get resources. Then the ABCD champion would assist the community to do a SOAR analysis. A SOAR analysis is SOAR, that talks to the strength, the aspirations, the opportunities and results. This means that after looking at the assets, the ABCD champion will guide the discussion for the community to look at what are the opportunities that are there for the ward. And then from there, the ward decides on what is it that the future ward should look like. They put their wish list as to this is where we would want to go short term, medium term, and long term. And then we look at assisting the community to develop a community activity plan. This community activity plan, it will have measurable objectives and indicators that will assist the community to develop a plan that they will implement over a period of 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. From the feedback that we got from Magagula, the strips of information that is coming in, some of the respondents from the environmental scan mentioned that the area required a facility to help learners with homework. And if during the transit walk someone mentioned that, and maybe there was an old container that was used for public phones, it's no longer used. I'm just trying to paint a picture so that we get an understanding on how can we guide the discussion so that the community members can be able to identify their assets and a potential use. So let's say they would have identified that container and someone would have said, we need a space to assist learners with their homeworks. So we can, as a community, look at converting that container to a space where we can conduct after-school lessons or assisting learners with homework. There could be a retired teacher within the same community that would say, I will be able to offer my services for free and be there, assist children with homeworks. There could be learners from high school or university who would say, I can be able to assist learners with maths or physics. So we look at what can we use with what we have to make the best for our own development. Maybe from the waste, there could have been anything that could be used to make chairs in the bus. Someone could say, let's bring our resources and make sure that we get what we took to make sure that we can make chairs, maybe paint the bus, but it has to be resources that can be used without any cost expected from the community. I would like to request everyone to have their phones on silent because it's a little bit disruptive. Another suggestion from the same team that could have gone for the Transact walk. The ABCD champion could guide the community after they would have identified that there is an illegal dumping hotspot. So the community may agree that, let us agree that we'll do cleaning campaign. We will be cleaning that spot. After all the treasure would have been identified from the waste, the rest of the waste would have to be cleaned out. Then each community member needs to look at what is it that they can bring on the day of a cleaning campaign. One person can say, I have a wheelbarrow, I will bring a wheelbarrow. One person can say, I've got a spade, I've got a fork, I've got a rake, so that everyone brings their tools together to make sure that they clean. After cleaning that space, the community would have to identify what can they use that space for. You might find that out of the questionnaires, there's people who indicated that they need assistance with support in their food gardens. How do you begin to align everyone in the community that has a food garden to get to that space that was used for illegal dumping and make them to use that space to plant whatever that they were planting in their backyard gardens? Once that space is utilized and it produces enough vegetables, those vegetables can be used in the mainstream to provide for the local school, for soup kitchen, or even soup for the elderly people in the ward. Once you have a system, you can actually assist as a asset-based community development champion. You can assist this group of people who are in a community to register as a cooperative. But the initiative would have started with the community. Maybe the economic development aspect is clear. How can we use the asset-based community development model to map out a community towards community safety plan? Again, from the questionnaires that we got, most of you, when you came back, you indicated that crime was the most concern that you picked up from the community when they were responding. Lawlessness, vandalism, drug abuse, and substance abuse. And we need to also, as community development workers, understand how to interpret the State of the Province address as the Premier would have tabulated it. In Gauteng, we know that our priority areas, they include the acceleration of economic recovery. They also include improved health and wellness. They also improve strengthening the capacity of the state to deliver. There's 5 of them. We need to familiarize ourselves with them. But there's one that talks to prevention of corruption, crime, lawlessness, and vandalism. For us to achieve community development, we need to ensure that we look at the community holistically. We can't say we will be doing a vegetable garden when we know that there's people who might go in and steal. How do we assist this community to map out a community safety plan that would ensure that the road towards community development is smooth? We would have dwelled so much on community safety last week, Thursday, because the theme for last week, it was community safety. And I think that's where the misunderstanding came when people were engaging at a later stage to say, no, this is not what ABCD is about. But we need to understand that asset-based community development model is a model. You can apply it towards any scenario, but at the end of the day, you need to be able to achieve community development. So in the safety and security sector, we said on Monday we would be going to Magagula talking about, in April, we'll be talking about economic development. On Tuesday, you find that there's people who said they wanted to focus on community safety, and there's others who wanted to focus on other sectors. But because they were with the economic development team on Monday, they can still join on Tuesday, so that we continue with the mapping. The journey starts where we started, the same thing. Transact walk. Everyone walks out. You look at the strengths that you can pick up. What can you pick up from your waste? Because asset-based community development is teaching us that waste is treasure. Then some of the concerns that were raised was that there are no play areas for activities for children and other people to be able to entertain themselves outside school. Again, as a community during community asset mapping, we look at, with the guidance from the ABCD champion as we walk out, what are the things that we can get from the waste that can assist us to go and start I'm being disturbed a bit by this movement that is going on. Let's start with looking at, is there a space that is available where we can be able to use that space for a play area? If there is, yes. Then the community will be assisted by the ABCD champion to be in consultation with the authorities to get access to that space. Then the community will have to come in and say, listen, this is how we are going to make this space work. Then if the space is collecting grass, again, everyone in the community bring their resources to clean. If someone would have found poles or waste that could be used to erect ground, what do you call this thing? Poles, football poles, yes. If someone who is owning a welding building in the area can say, I can assist in developing goal posts, that's the word I was looking for. And then someone would say, we've got a football club, but we do not have resources like your gear. Then someone in the community can say, I can make sure that I sew the clothes, the sporting clothes that the community can wear. Asset-based community development is about making sure that the community acknowledges everything that they have in their space and utilize it for a good use to achieve their own development. In the health and wellness, the reality is that drugs and substance abuse and gender-based violence have been recorded as the priority in the area. What are initiatives that can come from the community to assist alleviating the challenge at hand? We know that the Gauteng provincial government has declared war against drugs and alcohol abuse. How do we align the community with the preventative measures and the response to rehabilitate the substance users so that they become rehabilitated and be able to come back and be integrated with the community? In the infrastructure development sector, since flooding is a concern in the area, each household can commit to planting grass because we've identified that most of the households there, they don't have grass. So if each household can plant grass, it will assist to absorb the water. And they indicated that also the storm water drainage oftentimes is blocked. But let's look at what are the causes of the stormwater drainage system getting blocked. We like sweeping our streets, and when we sweep away the soil, and the soil builds up on the tarred roads. And when it's there, when it rains, the soil is flushed into the stream through the stormwater channel. Now, if the community is aware that should it rain, it is bound to flood, now they need to take a responsibility on how they will prevent these sweeping that are causing the buildup of soil. You would have identified that we would have maybe had 4 community activity plans. On Monday, we would be talking to the economic development sector. On Tuesday, we will be talking to the health and wellness sector. On Wednesday, we will be talking to the safety and security sector. On Thursday, we'll be talking to the infrastructure development sector. All these sectors would develop a community activity plan to say, this is what we are going to do. In a short term, thank you. So the community activity plan details what the community will be doing in a short term, long term, medium term, and long term. These plans would be shared with the ward committee members, for the ward committee members to share with the ward councillor. The same plan will be shared with the CDW, who is a community development worker in that ward. The community development worker will share with their supervisor, and their supervisor will share with their manager. In essence, the community is taking charge of implementing its own activity plan. All the service delivery challenges that were identified on Thursday, they were captured and shared with the CDW of the ward to escalate through the necessary channels. It doesn't mean that now that we are here in Kwa-Thema, because we are here for community asset mapping, if we see a blocked drain or a leaking water meter, we're just gonna go past. No. You are requested, colleagues, today that whatever that you will come across, put it down on the questionnaire. There's an area that says at the back here, do you require any assistance with a community challenge? If yes, please specify the challenge and assistance required. Then this talks to the household challenge. Then the second question says, do you have any challenges with access to government services? If yes, please specify the challenge and the assistance you require. This is where a community member would indicate that I needed access to a department of so-and-so for this kind of service, and this is where my challenge is, and this is what I need assistance with. Once all the sector-specific challenges have been picked up from the reports that comes from the ward-based community activity plans, the managers of community workers who are at regional level would meet at a regional level and look at how best can they align the community activity plans with the plans of communities. Also, matters that require escalation and a rapid response will be channeled to the resolvers, and a commitment for a resolution will be issued by the relevant department. The communities can also develop a list of priorities they wish to see on the IDPs for projects that require the intervention of government. The Regional Intergovernmental Service Delivery Forum would provide a progress report on the support given to ward-based activity plans, as well as the resolution of service delivery challenges. The alignment of community activity plans with department spatial planning will facilitate a social contract between community and government. The district development model implementation at ward level advocates for collaboration of departments towards joint planning at district level, which means all the plans that would be implemented by departments at a local level should talk to the plans that are developed by the communities. I can make an example, colleagues. You may have noticed in the past that there would be a bridge that would be built for a community, but children would be knocked down by cars under the bridge because they don't see that as their asset. They don't own it if the bridge was put there because of what we as government, we thought the community wanted. So asset-based community development assists communities to be involved in planning for their own development, and so that they can take ownership and appreciate the assets that are presented to them by government. Everyone in this room today is a community worker. We may be coming from different sectors, but we share similar experiences. We all have an understanding that community dynamics are not the same. Before we can invite communities out there into the application of the ABCD model, we need to deepen our understanding as to what the model seeks to achieve. The desired outcome from the ABCD application is meant for communities to identify and appreciate their own assets, explore what can be done with what they have, look at what can be done with what the community has with the little help from government and other stakeholders, identify what can only be done through the intervention from government and other stakeholders. We can look at a glass with a half content, whether it's water or juice. We can look at it and have a different interpretation. I may see it as half empty. The next person can see it as half full. There's no right or wrong answer, because someone who sees the glass half empty, they may be looking at it based on the assumption that the glass was full and the other half has been consumed. While the one looking at it from the angle of half full with the assumption that the glass was empty and it's on a process of being filled. The way we look at the glass today should not get us stuck on whether the glass is half full or half empty. But we need to think of how the glass scenario helps us change the way we see things, the way we make decisions, and the way we interpret actions of others. Psychology teaches us that seeing the glass as half empty, it relates with negativity. And there, it cannot be done mentality. While seeing the glass as half full, according to psychology, it relates with positivity and it can be done perception. As for me, I think I gave up on the glass debate, because sometimes I see it as half full, Sometimes I see it as half empty. Whichever way we are approaching our work, we need to move from a point of saying it can be done. And we need to move away from the notion of saying it cannot be done. The same goes to how we understand the application of the ABCD model. It is not cast on stone. After all, it is a model, and it needs to be tested at different scenarios. There is no right way or wrong way of application. We know that community dynamics are not the same. Remember, the impact and the quality will be determined by your participants. When you facilitate these sessions in your wards, you cannot say you have achieved good results if your audience you have is only 10 people when your overall ward population is more than 20,000 people. Hence, we are here for an environmental scan, hoping that we will be able to get community members who will be interested in participating in the ward-based sectors, for us to be able to go back now and initiate discussions at sector level that are driven by the ABCD champions. Once we are done with this process, each and every CDW will be expected to find a way of implementing the asset-based community development model in your ward. So the more we do it in numbers that we are learning so that we can fix the aeroplane while it's moving. And hence the suggestions that were brought on Thursday were taken very seriously, and the ones that are gonna come out of today, they also are going to be taken seriously. I was also reminded to request you to inform community members when you're conducting community household visits that IEC will be stationed at the old customer care. They are here today from 9 until 1 o'clock. They are here to conduct voter registrations for new registrations for everyone who is a South African citizen who is 16 years and older and has an ID document, and only original ID document or card will be accepted. They will also be looking at re-registrations for people who have changed their places of residence since their last registration. They will also be doing online registrations, and they will also be assisting communities to create e-recruitment profile so that if people are interested to work in IEC during the 2024 national and provincial government elections, they would have been, their details would have been captured on the application. Why we are having different departments when we're journeying with the community asset mapping, I would have indicated earlier to say the responsibility of COGTA is also to promote collaboration between government, departments, and even Section 9 and Section 21 institutions. So these engagements, we will be inviting all other sector departments that would be interested in joining us, because everyone goes into that space and do their day-to-day work. IEC is here today to carry out their mandate. Like in Daveyton, economic development was there. The stakeholders from economic development were there to assist people to register or to give information around funding. So this journey, as we move, it assists us to make sure that we reach our communities as a collaborative, and I think I would just pause there. I will not be taking questions today, colleagues, because we are pressed with time, and we also have issues of load shedding. So I think from here, I would just request the team leader to maybe announce as to which areas we would be going to and how are we going to do the mapping. Thank you very much. Team leader?
No, she's coming.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Madam Singh, for the review of the presentation. No.
Introduce yourself.
All right. My name is Natim Balati, coordinating the regional CDW. Thanks very much, Mr. Matsinye, for the review workshop. The quick one, I think they've assisted us. It reminded us with so many things that we got from the workshop. I think that maybe some of them we forgot, but today at least she reminded us about the core and the objective of ABCD. We are not going to ask to open for questions as she have indicated, but it was just a reminder to say this is what it needs to be done from us as community development workers. I will therefore request Ma'am Prudence to give us the area where we'll be going, as we have done in Magagula, so that we start with our actual work. And before we go out, please, we will appeal all of us that we get seated so that we can get our food packs. Ne? And then when we go out, we'll go out with our food packs. Thanks very much. Ma'am Prudence.
Okay, colleagues, let's give Prudence an earring.
Colleagues will be going to Ward 79. We'll be visiting 425 and Extension 6 in Ward 75. Ward 79, I'm sorry.
Which direction from you?
It would assist if you can guide us as to, we know that there are teams already that were set from the previous engagement. So as we leave here, maybe we would say we would assemble just outside here, and we'll be able to know which areas that will be going.
So from here we'll go out and then go straight with Job Masego Street.
Okay.
Yeah. Kunama team guys from Laika Kwa-Thema abazo leader ama teams, ama mini teams azosibonisa ukuthi siyakuphi. Thank you.
Can I just say something, colleagues? The completion of questionnaires, ne? Please make sure that your questionnaire is completed in full. We picked up quite a few omissions. Colleagues, can I just get your attention? We've picked up that colleagues would have left the name of the respondent. It's difficult because when we're supposed to be reaching out to them, we may not be able to reach them. Another challenge is the phone numbers. If you made an error, do not write over the number. I suggest that you cancel and rewrite, because sometimes it's difficult to make sense of either it's a 3 or a 5. So let's make sure that when we capture phone numbers, and also the part of the questionnaire that talks to ward-based sectors at the back, I understand that sometimes other people would say, where the question that says, which structure does your neighborhood have? There's economic development and city planning, there's health and social development sector, there's community safety sector, there's faith-based organization sector, women and children, youth, elderly people living with disability, elderly and people living with a disability, my apologies. Infrastructure, development and environment. There are templates where it's ticked that one community member wants to participate in all sectors, it becomes difficult. Yes, we may have said you can tick more than one, but there is not a possibility that the person would be able to participate in all 10. Let's try maybe to limit to at least 3 or 4 so that we are able to continue. But I think the template is clear. The ward number that we are in is Ward 79. The supervisor name is Ms. Onyire for this cluster, and the contact number. It's important to have the supervisor name there because we are joined by other community workers. So if it's someone who is not from COGTA, we need to be able to capture that department where the community worker capturing this form is reporting to. And then if you met someone on the street, it's not a household. You tick street interview or it's a household interview. Most of the details here, they might not make sense now, but they make sense when we capture. The description of settlement in terms of township, informal settlement or hostel, it's township, and that's already been captured for you. The name of the respondent, household address, a lot of people did not include street names last week. Can we try and include street names today? And I think, yeah, so I think we've covered most of it. Oh, I'm reminded to welcome our host, Meso Fimti, who is our primary host, who responded at 11th hour when we had to redirect the process this morning. Thank you very much, Mem Sophie, because we were supposed to be in Duduza rank, Kwa-Thema, but there were difficulties because we would not have managed to have this kind of briefing. So from here, we will look at how do we align specific people with the camera, because we need to prepare community members to request for permission before we can just budge and say we are who we are. So we're not going to have the camera the whole day. It's just going to be a few, just to capture, to get a sense of what we will be doing on the ground. And can I just make sure that everyone would have signed an attendance register? There's 2 attendance registers. There's one from IEC and there's one from COGTA. In the meantime, Mr. Mbalati is organizing the food packet. Thank you, the briefing.